The space race. A stunning time to be alive. With modern advances and fear from above ever present. Now we can look to a time of certainty, of luxury, and of atomic power.
The 1950s witnessed America giving shape to hope under the banner of the great atomic future. The atomic future seemed to have unlimited capabilities as nuclear energy began powering American cities. In the midst of this, the Ford Motor Company envisioned a car, the Nucleon, one that was powered by a nuclear reactor. So, what exactly was the Nucleon? A car that's still considered to be ahead of its time. Let's find out in this video as we unravel this concept car that echoed the great atomic future. It was 1957 when Ford developed the Ford Nucleon, a concept car designed as a future nuclear-powered car. Though the car was simply demonstrated as a scale model, the idea that was proposed traversed beyond the horizons of the automobile world. Unlike traditional cars, the Nucleon did not consist of an internal combustion engine. The idea the company proposed was indeed jaw-dropping. According to Ford, the Nucleon was to be powered by a small nuclear reactor in the rear of the vehicle. The addition of the nuclear reactor was based on the assumption that it would be viable by reducing sizes. The Nucleon was to use a steam engine that was powered by uranium fission. Now, if you think that the application of such technology isn't practical, then you might want to take a glance at nuclear submarines. While the concept was announced by Ford, nuclear technology was relatively new. During the time, many believed that nuclear fission technology was something that could be converted into something that was both compact and affordable. That was not all, as people believed that nuclear fuel would turn out to be a primary energy source in the U.S. Ford, a company that manages to stay ahead of its time, took a similar stand then, as it envisioned a future where gas stations would be replaced with full-service recharging stations. When it came to the Nucleon, Ford believed that the car would get 5,000 miles, after which the reactor would have to be exchanged for a new one. The company believed that it could incorporate scaled-down versions of the nuclear reactors that were used by military submarines at the time. They wanted to use uranium as the fissile material, and since the entire reactor would have to be replaced after 5,000 miles, the company proposed that the owner would have various choices for reactors. These choices would include either a fuel-efficient model or a high-performance model. This meant that the reactor could be tailored to the use of the driver. The basic idea behind the car was that the reactor would use heat to convert water into steam, making the car steam-driven. Yes, it all sounds good until you check this out. The dimensions of the Nucleon were termed to be utterly comical dimensions. You heard that right. As per Ford's press materials, the Nucleon had a length of about 16.7 feet and a width of about 6.5 feet. This made the concept car as long as the new Ford Maverick compact pickup truck. The car had its roof at a height of 3.5 feet, whereas the wheelbase, often considered to be its silliest proportion, was about 5.8 feet. Well, this meant that it was about a foot shorter than British Motor Corporation's original mini-compact car. Though these dimensions may have been Ford's tactics to showcase that the car was from the future, it was a lot more than what an average American could handle. Ford called the Nucleon's reactor a power capsule, which would generate power for electronic torque converters. But as we move towards reality, the Ford Nucleon concept simply vanished after 1958 because nuclear energy technology couldn't power a mass-produced passenger car. The technology to do that was not available back then, nor is it available now. According to professor and eminent scholar in systems engineering, Dr. L. Dale Thomas, Deputy Director of the Propulsion Research Center at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, the issue with an automotive-scale reactor is not related to accommodating the radioactive core, but it lies in handling the energy it generates. Dr. Thomas said, "The reactor core itself for a small nuclear reactor could indeed fit into the engine compartment of a personal vehicle, which would generate ample energy to power a personal vehicle." He added, "However, the difficulty arises from the energy conversion problem. The nuclear reactor will generate thermal energy, which needs to be converted to mechanical energy." According to him, the Ford company would have assumed that the energy conversion technology would improve significantly. After analyzing the geometry of the concept car, he speculated that they would have had a lot of radiators under the sheet metal. In the case of the Nucleon, the nuclear reactor would have the same job as that of an internal combustion engine in a normal car. What an internal combustion engine does is to turn thermal energy into mechanical force, that is, horsepower and torque. When it comes to reactors, they often struggle to execute this job efficiently. This is because the heat produced by a reactor is used to boil water into steam and then spin a turbine attached to a generator that produces electricity. The electricity produced would be used by the motors for powering the wheels. The reason why it is inefficient is because this method involves a string of energy conversions from thermal to mechanical, electric, and then back to mechanical force. This opens up a lot of extra inefficiencies. Dr. Thomas said, "Energy conversions are just like currency exchanges at the airport. You always lose. Even when you consider a much simpler system that trades a steam turbine for a simple heat engine, there would be a shedding of excess thermal energy. This is done by a combustion engine as part of its operation." According to Dr. Thomas, for an ICE, a lot of the waste heat is disposed of via the exhaust gas, and the remaining is handled by the radiator. Dr. Thomas said mobile nuclear power on such a small scale was not feasible in the 50s. He concludes, and not due to the small reactor itself, which we do now understand how to construct and control, refer to NASA's Krusty project, but rather the thermal to mechanical energy conversion and disposal of waste heat within the geometrical envelope of a personal vehicle. Also, with the Department of Energy's Small Modular Reactor program, the nuclear industry is figuring out how to mass-produce nuclear reactors. A Ford archivist said that the Nucleon only existed as 3/8 scale models. This meant that the company was more concerned with how a nuclear-powered car would look than how one would work. Speaking of looks, the mock-up of the car can still be viewed at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. Even though the Nucleon simply remained a concept car, it still lives on as inspiration for the nuclear-powered cars in the Fallout video game franchise. Well, if you've played the game, you must have taken a look at the in-game billboards that describe the fictional chrysalis Corvega Atomic V8 as having an Atomic V8 engine. Though the Nucleon is the inspiration for the car, the depiction is purely satirical, as the cars explode into a mushroom cloud and also release radiation when shot. So, the fact is that the Nucleon was simply the result of an idea, which, if possible, would indeed have revolutionized transport. So what do you think about the Ford Nucleon? Its controversial design and the unimaginable capabilities it would have brought? Let us know in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that we can entertain you with more exciting videos.